Last night was one of the most bizarre things I have ever seen. Our president was laughed at. Our president was lost and bewildered. There were parts of the speech I literally could not understand. I've never seen anything like it. He introduced spending and control that is way beyond anything the United States of America has ever done. No mention of why we've spent $100 billion on Ukraine. But, no answer on why we're doing it, what exactly we're doing, just that we're committed from here until the end. I don't know what that means. About half of it, I felt like he was saying Trump was right. I mean, all of a sudden he was America first. It was bizarre. China, our greatest national security adversary. He used to laugh at that. Police need more funding, not less. Well, we got to have that funding so we can attract the best cops and provide the best training. Wait, what? Social media platforms like TikTok are a danger to our children, and anything coming from China should be banned. Wait, what? Buy American and American first, now apparently correct and moral. The U.S. debt is too high and has to be reduced to take the burden off our children. Now he's also talking about, at the same time, the most spending programs in our history. And he then introduces that we're going to tax the rich some more for that because there's tax cheats out there. Is that going to pay for all of this? He also said, now I want you to really think on this. He said that from now on, 100% of building materials used in infrastructure and government construction projects need to come from America. Okay. If that were true, we'd have to open an estimated 400 new coal, copper, and iron ore mines, 100 new steel mills, 100 new aluminum refineries. We'd have to cut down almost every tree in America. By the way, part of our U.S. carbon emissions, the reason why they're 80% lower than they were in 1995, is because we outsourced all of that stuff. So now you want to bring it here in America while reducing our carbon emissions to zero. Not going to happen. Check out the cobalt mines in Africa, the copper mines in South America. We outsourced all of our steel refinement to China, lumber to Canada and South America. What would requiring 100% of $2 trillion of infrastructure spending do to our goal of reaching 0% carbon by 2050? There's no answer there. There's no answer. It's delusional thinking. What would it just do if to the prices of stuff at Home Depot, if the United States of America decided to buy $2 trillion a year of all American product? You wouldn't have a chance of buying an American product. I wondered after he was making promise after promise what the Supreme Court justices thought. There were 4 of them that didn't show up last night. I mean, if you're sitting there and you were at all constitutionally based, you were like, well, that won't stand up in court. Over and over again. A wealth tax and a billionaire's only tax, unconstitutional. Forcing non-profitable corporations to pay 15% of income, not profits, income. It's unconstitutional. Setting the price at which items can be sold. No matter the manufacturing and business cost, no way, just setting the price. Unconstitutional. And then he was laughed at. Look, I understand. I'm not going to shut down all the oil and gas here in America, and people are saying that, and that's not true, because we are going to need oil and gas, I'm quoting, for another 10 years. Another 10 years? You just doomed half the world to a slow and painful death from starvation. This was the most embarrassing moment I've ever seen in a State of the Union address. The world is facing massive energy shortages. America is one of the largest energy producers in the world due to coal, oil, and natural gas. Russia's oil and gas production are supposedly off the market for the next 10 to 15 years. So the developing world, they can't get it from Russia, can't get it from us. They'll die off without any energy and food production. So to blind, everybody, he's delusional. He's so incredibly, I don't even know how a logical person can even look at that speech and understand it other than there's something wrong here. No notion. He says the radical environmentalism, which he's pursuing, he says it's an existential threat that we have to take care of. No notion of how we're going to produce food and heat for the next, 8 billion people. What you saw last night was state-sponsored religion. That's what you saw. He was the high priest. He came to the altar and expected you to bow down and worship at that altar, the first ever American state-sponsored religion, because there's no logic to it. You just have to believe. I was also a little disappointed by Sarah Huckabee Sanders' rebuttal speech. It's good. She told a story setting, Trump up for 2024, given, passion plea for what makes America great. But it was not a rebuttal. She didn't rebut anything, any of the major points or policies in his speech. It was as if she wasn't watching the speech. And I think that is a huge mistake. You can't pre-write everything. I really like Sarah. I do. But the stump speech response from Republicans is just not enough. Imagine if we would have just deconstructed. You could have had GPT do it. Imagine if we could have deconstructed what Biden actually said. Some of the biggest applause lines, his biggest promises. Let me just throw a couple of these out at you. Imagine if she would have said something like, Mr. President, you keep saying, let's finish the job. We'd like to know what job it is you're trying to finish, because we don't see the benefits happening to the United States of America. It is almost as if you're trying to finish the job of the fundamental transformation and destruction of America. But let's take you at your word. What you're suggesting we do as a nation via our government, I'm not sure you understand what your job even is. Based on what you just demanded tonight, that are all the things that our government should do, that's not your job. Here's what an intelligent person would have heard in your speech. Let's finish the job of violating the Second Amendment by disarming Americans, preventing them from being able to defend themselves, their families, and their homes. I don't want to finish that job. Let's finish the job of violating the First Amendment by continuing to follow our first ever state-sponsored religion of radical environmentalism, destroying our energy industry, ultimately massively depopulating the planet, dooming mankind to return really to the Middle Ages. Let's finish the job of violating the 9th and 10th Amendments by going on government spending sprees, including free health care for all, free in-home disability care, free college for all, a guaranteed job for anyone who wants one, which would lead to catastrophic hyperinflation, runaway debt. It would destroy everything. By the way, none of that is in our Constitution. Every single one of those was in the Soviet Constitution, however. Let's finish the job of what? Violating the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause by asking the top 1% of tax earners who already pay more than 40% of all taxes to pay even more, ensuring only that they're going to migrate out of the U.S. to countries that ask them to actually pay their fair share. It would destroy our tax base. Or is that why you were trying to finish the job overseas and convince every Western nation that we all had to lock our tax rates together? Let's finish the job in what? Ukraine? Violating Article 1, Section 8, which grants Congress the sole power, that's a quote, to declare war. Let's continue to fight $100+ billion per year proxy wars against Russia in the Middle East, in Africa. Let's continue to drum up support for the next war against what? China? Let's finish the job of lying to our children that the goal of American life is and must be equity of outcomes, instead of teaching them about individual responsibility, merit-based rewards for hard work or personal achievement. No. Let's finish the job. Let's finish the job of further depopulating the planet by teaching young children that abortion is the answer to pregnancy if that is her or his whims, according to the equal rights of the unborn child, as if killing a 5-year-old is the answer to the inconvenience of being a parent or food shortages. Let's finish the job of what? Turning America into a socialist Soviet state. I refer you back to the Soviet Constitution, where the government sets all the prices, takes over businesses, or you could go to the fascistic look, where it's a public-private partnership. Their words, the fascist words, not mine, but strangely yours, where they come in and they either take over the business or they partner with the industries to achieve social goals, demanding they produce drugs or hearing aids or music, and then must sell them at a price that the government demands or decides is fair. I don't want to finish that job. Mr. President, I don't think you understand what finishing your job really means, because it seems like you don't even know what your job is. And it's weird because you've taken the oath of office several times, and your job, the job of the American government, is to ensure and protect the liberty and freedom of each individual man, every man, woman, and child. What is it from the Declaration of Independence? Oh, and governments are instituted among men to protect these rights. That's why in America we even have a government. When you became a senator and then vice president and now president, you took an oath of office. There was no mention of jobs for all, free college, free health care, destroying our industries to follow your party's chosen scientists' whim on energy policy. Perhaps you need a reminder of that oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. By the way, the reason you have a veto is because you believe it to be unconstitutional. Not because you don't like it, but because you believe it is unconstitutional. But how many presidents even remember that on both sides of the aisle? Let me ask you, Mr. President, when you stated your plan and your mission, do you not see it clearly violates the precepts and the text of the Constitution? And what does that mean to you? However, to give credit, where credit is due, you were right about one thing. We still do have a job to do. Except I think we should finish the job our founders started, to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That, sir, is the job. That is the job that is still left undone because it will never be totally finished, ever. It's through human freedom and liberty and meritocracy that we will cure cancer. We will protect the environment. lower healthcare costs. Plus, we'll improve the economy and confront our enemies as they arise. Because that's what Americans do. And every time there's a public-private partnership or government gets involved, it destroys the freedom. You know, it's the people, not higher taxes on a few people. Not through government controls of industries or price controls or wage and job guarantees that enslave the few for the benefit of the many. That's not capitalism, sir. Although you said twice last night you're a capitalist, I don't think you even know what that means. It's another C word, Constitution, capitalist. That's socialism. That's Marx, Mao, Hitler, Putin, Z. They each believed well-intended for their people, but the path to hell. Your job as a public servant, it's singular and simple. To defend and protect the Constitution. So in the spirit of bipartisanship, sir, suck it up. Let's all hold hands. Let's finish that job. That's what should have been said last night.